Hello, my name is Darien Pardilla. The war on drugs was a global campaign led by the U.S. government to prohibit drugs through military aid and intervention. This war was started by President Nixon on June 18, 1971, which ultimately named drug abuse public enemy number one. Since 1971, the United States have spent an amount of $1 trillion to end the war. Was the war on drugs and the policies that came along with it racially biased? Who were being targeted by the police during this time, and how are men affected? The main group that were being victimized was African Americans, and while that was happening, drug use becomes associated with the lower ranks of society and often with racial and ethnic groups that are feared or despised by the middle class. Tonry, 1994. They attributed drug use to the people in low-income neighborhoods, and with that, caused a social change that led to African Americans being heavily discriminated. Continuing to focus on the social change aspect of conflict theory, not only were they discriminated against, but were disproportionately ruining African American lives, especially at a young age. War or no war, most people are surprised and saddened to learn that for many years, 30 to 40% of these admitted to prison were black. Tonry, 1994. Another social change that was caused by the war on drugs was that African Americans were disproportionately incarcerated than white Americans and could not do anything at all. And here in this graph, we can see, starting from 1971, the growth has gone up exponentially for prison population. More social change that was effectively caused by the war on drugs is with the addition to being attributed to lower ranks of society, it is also attributed to crime and danger. Unconscious and conscious racial stereotypes have affected public perceptions of drugs, crime, disorder, and danger, and helped shape political and policy responses. Loeb, 2008. Social change, this time, the perceptions of the African Americans are changed and allow the people who are in control to take advantage by creating policies to capitalize on, like redlining, or with companies like ALEC, who lobby these policies as well. With these neighborhoods that these drugs are being sold in, they cause change to the people within the community, making them feel scared to leave their homes. Not only do residents feel they are imprisoned in their homes by the gang violence, he said, but they are also frustrated by the constant property crimes and street hustling committed by the drug users traveling into the neighborhood to buy dope. Little, 2007. Social change due to the gang violence that plagues their neighborhood happens as they are locked in their homes to hide away from the violence, causing them to feel scared. With all of this social change now, we need to see how the bourgeoisie are limiting the resources given to the proletariat. In this case, the resources being property, food, and clothing. The war on drugs foreseeably and unnecessarily blighted the lives of hundreds of thousands of young, disadvantaged Americans, especially black Americans, and undermined decades of effort to improve the life chances of members of the urban black underclass. Tonry, 1994. They are unable to make a change in their lives or climb the socioeconomic ladder, meaning that they are unable to obtain the resources that other people may have, such as food, clothing, and housing. These are different resources for the proletariat to lose out on, such as ones like these. Most felony defendants, whatever their race, tend to be poor, ill-educated, or underemployed, and not part of a stable household. Tonry, 1994. These people who are committing these crimes are usually people who are at a disadvantage to compete for limited resources. In this case, it is jobs and education. Finally, they can also lose all help from the government if they are sent to jail, essentially ruining any way for them to recover. A drug conviction can also mean the loss of public assistance, access to public housing, civil service jobs, and other government service, sanctions that are seldom applied to other criminal offenses. Small, 2001. The disproportionate African Americans face their resources being taken away from them, seen here in the quote. They are not helped at all after they are released from the prison. We can see how the war on drugs that was started has really been a war on people, more specifically the minorities. However, in reality, a lot of the drug use is done by white people. After seeing the social change and the two distinct classes competing for resources, we can see that the war on drugs and its policies that came along with it was racially biased, with conflict theory. Thank you for your time.